Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time that we're gonna try to get back into our normal routine and we're actually gonna work on some stuff. So what I wanna do today is I wanna get the truck in the garage, engine and transmission out, and actually tear it down and look at the engine and find out what was wrong with it. So that's the goal, but I do have some cleaning that I have to do because it's a little dirty from other projects and basement work we were doing. So we got a bunch of stuff around. But I gotta try to be strategic about this because I have a plan. What I wanna do, tell me what you guys think about this. Just an idea, and I might not go with it, but what do you guys think? So what I wanna do is pull the 5.3 out of the car and put it in the truck, and then put the 6-liter back in here. So my idea for that is I don't wanna spend too much time down with the truck. So we have a perfectly good 5.3 right here that's running and driving. And all I would have to do is swap the cam and springs, toss it in the truck, and be done with it. So I do have a little bit of transmission work to get the 4-wheel drive stuff back in, but at least I wouldn't be waiting on engine. So as long as I get the diff in, axles, and transfer case on the transmission, then we just throw the engine in and go and be done with it. And then what I'd like to do with the 6-liter is check the cylinders for bore size, taper, roundness, and all that good stuff. And then possibly hone and build the 6-liter and put it in here. So if this is gonna have the twin turbo setup on it, maybe I could do a little bit better build on the 6-liter and then put that in here, keep the 5.3 in the truck. Let me know what you guys think. Let's get started on this. All right, so we got the truck in, hood off, ready to start pulling this all apart. So this will be the last view of this setup. I mean, it's not going to change much from here probably, but I'm going to have 4-wheel drive in there. So the idea is to get the front differential back in. Not sure if I'm going to have to move the engine or what I'm going to have to do. So I want to do a couple things different when I put it back in. I do want to add a heater box. So my plan is to fabricate a heater box, probably out of aluminum, and try to get it around the exhaust. Wrap everything up nice. I probably want to do the wiring and stuff a little bit better because this really just kind of looks like garbage. So yeah, let's start pulling it apart. I can tell I'm really not motivated to do this. I kind of haven't really worked on anything for like a month now with the basement stuff going on and really out of my groove and trying to get back into it. So I'm at the point right now where I'm just eyeballing all the stuff and overthinking how much stuff needs to get done. So I really just need to start ripping it apart and it'll be done in a little bit. All right, so I think I'm just gonna start by undoing the wiring. I'm kind of like, don't even know where the hell I want to start right now. It's been a while since I broke something, so I haven't taken it apart in a few months. I was getting pretty good at it, pretty fast, where I like had a really good system down. It seems like every time I do it, it gets harder and harder. You would think it'd get easier. So this is the 2-step, the MSD 2-step wiring. Taking that stuff out. Some of this I'm just gonna flip off to the side. Let me get a little cutter. I got this little Harbor Freight guy. These things are like $1 a piece. Awesome. Yank off all the zip ties. Well, like I said, I think a lot of this stuff was kind of like an afterthought. I've mentioned this in other videos where you like put it in initially and then you want to add something and then you want to add something and then you want to add something. So it ends up being a lot of stuff just piled on top of a bunch of other stuff. So everything's kind of like an afterthought is what I call it. Where like this mess right here, it's like a T, going to a bunch of different stuff because it's like I had this, and then I added the boost controller, then I added the blow-off valve, and then later on I added the, this goes to the pressure sensor for the meth kit, so it's like, everything was just added on later. Throttle cable. So it's just a matter of I gotta get started. just start ripping stuff apart, and then I don't think about it as much. And do the boost gauge line. So yeah, and then this one goes down to my fuel pressure regulator. So that's like, everything is just added on later. I am using these little adapter things for my fuel injectors. This is like the truck injector style to the EV6, I think that's called. So I have these things added on because I changed injectors. I wasn't really sure if I was going to keep them, so I just kind of put them there instead of changing the plugs. I probably could have went ahead and actually changed the plug, but I think what might do if I'm going to use adapters again, there's a different type of adapter that's like a little short plug. It doesn't have any wire connected to it. So I think I might go that route if I do the adapter. I'm not sure what injectors I want to use yet. I'm thinking I want to go with some Snake Eater, like 160s maybe for the truck and 210s for the car. That was kind of my thought. I'm kind of sick of running out of injector because that's a problem that I've been having with the truck, and I think a lot of it now is related to just how much my torque converter is slipping and I was making power but not actually using it. I think a lot of it is just related to that, but I'm just kind of sick of running out of injector and dealing with fuel problems. Where initially when I did the build, I was thinking I wanted to kind of underbuild everything and see how far you could push it and like try to be a hero and stuff. But now I'm thinking I kind of want to maybe go a different route. I don't know. I might go do two different routes with the car and the truck. Like overbuild the car and still try to do the underbuild and push it with the truck. I don't know. Because I think back to like when I was building stereos, I did it the complete opposite of this. I would way overbuild everything and underuse it, and I would never break anything. And I could hammer the hell out of it all day and just walk away from it, thinking we're talking stereos now. But I could literally demo the car or whatever I built and just leave it sit and play in a parking lot and walk away from it and let people at the show just kind of go up and sit in it and walk around, and I wouldn't have to worry about breaking anything. So kind of the opposite strategy that I've been doing with this, but I'm learning a lot, so that's fun to me. So all the injectors are off. Then I go through and get the coil packs off, and I'll get this other stuff out of the way. So I guess in the kind of way I would equate what I was doing with stereos and stuff and how I evolved into doing this, I started, like I said, building really big stuff and overbuilding it and underusing it, so I knew for sure that it was safe. I just knew it was safe all the time. And I was still building stuff that was really loud, or you could say equivalent to pretty fast. If you're trying to compare it to car to go fast stuff. And it was like impressive to people because they're just not used to it. So, but it really wasn't efficient. So like my big van that I had, it would play 160 decibels on music, but it was like 40,000 watts to do that, and it was really expensive. But I could do it and play it all day, and I wouldn't have to worry about breaking anything, but it was expensive and inefficient. So I would equate that to, say, like a Hellcat or something like that. So it's fast, but it's really expensive and not necessarily very efficient for the cost, but it's impressive to people because it's more than your average daily driver thing that people are normally used to. So it's still impressive, but it's not impressive really for the efficiency. So what I started doing towards the end was trying to build more for efficiency. So I had 16 18s in my van, and I ended up building later on my little Nissan hardbody that I had. That build, I ended up building it with 612s, and it was more efficient than that van was. And I just found a lot of satisfaction in that, building something for a very low cost that was just as efficient. I probably couldn't play it as long, but it was very efficient. So that kind of, and then I evolved into doing engine stuff, and that's kind of what stuck with me was how do I do it as cheap as possible, learn as much as I can, and make it efficient. So here we are, pulling a broken engine out. That's the story. All right, so got the intake off. Want to show you guys a few things. So I was kind of looking for where the oil was coming from. I'm pretty sure it's cracked piston number 5, causing extra pressure, blah, 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 crankcase pressure. So when I looked at this at first, this plug was all the way in, and this plug was actually pushed part of the way out. It was like this underneath here. And if I look, there's a bunch of oil on top, and I mentioned in a couple previous videos that there was oil underneath the intake. So I don't know if it was bleeding off pressure from the knock sensor gasket seal that's underneath there. Because if we look at the intake, this is the back, everything is all wet, except for the front of the intake is dry. So right above where the knock sensor opening was, it's all wet, and this is just oil. So that would make sense, I guess, if there was vapor coming out of there and accumulating on the bottom. But even on the back side, it's completely dry until you get underneath. Weird. All right, so got everything off. Turbo's off, manifold's off. Everything's pretty much ready to come out. Still gotta get the radiator out and unhook that stuff and take the trans out. So a few more bolts, I'll drop the trans out and get the engine out. The engine, if you guys don't know, the engine bay is too short, but I can't get it out this way unless I were to cut this, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that yet. I don't really want to if I don't have to. So what I do is I drop the trans out underneath here, and then I'll pull the engine out. So let's do that. All right, the drive shaft is out. Trans is held up with the jack, ready to come down. Still got to pull it back a little bit. But I do have all my bolts out. See, there's my trans bolts. They only have 5 bolts. So the whole time I had 5 bolts holding this thing in. So if you guys are worried about it, I had 5 bolts holding this in because this is still the same block that's broken on the bottom. When the transmission broke and it ripped that tab off, I just obviously never changed the block or anything, so that one wasn't in there the whole time, so I just had the other 5. And there you go. I just wanted to show that because it seems like people are always freaked out about how many trans bolts they have in there. And the one on this side on the back, it's plugged, so there's no thread for it, and people are usually freaked out because they think they need to put all those trans bolts in. So that's what I had. All right, so trans is out. I'm gonna figure out how to get the hoist over to here. I think I'm gonna try to go at it from an angle so I don't have to move the car. I might try that. See if I can get it out from the side. I've never done it that way, but that would be a lot easier at this point than moving all of this shit and trying to get the car out of the way so I can pull it out from the front. So I'm gonna try this, and this is a pain in the nuts trying to get it out from the side. I really don't like doing it. And then you gotta separate it underneath the truck, and it's really difficult getting it back in. I guess not very difficult, but it's just kind of a pain. But I really don't want to cut this. I'm just kind of debating because it's all spot welded in, and I don't think you can just unbolt it and then you'd have to take a whole lot more stuff apart. So I don't know, maybe, but that's what I'm gonna do. I also want to show you guys the face of this thing. See how blue it is. That's a lot of this. I don't think this is any worse than when I put it on there. It looks like it's kind of dirty, but a lot of the bluing. I don't think the bluing is any worse than when after I had it rebuilt, because when I first put this on there, I was locking it at wide open throttle. It's a single disc. So I basically didn't change any of the trans settings, and this thing was locking the whole time. So when I pulled it apart, it was blued on the back, but I'd sent it in and had it rebuilt. So I haven't had any issues with it since. It's just, I don't know if I'll ever be able to sell it though, honestly. I mean, it works fine, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to sell it like that with the bluing. I think that's going to scare a bunch of people away, but I don't know, nice paperweight for a while, I guess. So I'm going to go at this thing and get the engine out, and we'll pull it apart. All right, so we got the engine up on the stand. I was able to do it without moving the car, so that's really good. I think I said that already. What we're gonna do now, I'm gonna take out the last 2 bolts, or loosen the last 2 head bolts. I kind of went through and did them all already. I did check on the bottom side. I pulled the oil pan off already and the windage tray, and checked from the bottom side. I didn't see anything weird. No bent rods, no scoring on the cylinder walls or anything from the bottom side. I really think it's just a cracked second ring land on number 5. That's my prediction, but we'll see where that goes. There's oil everywhere on this block. Like basically from this part here back, everything is soaked in oil. But what's really weird is this spot right here is dry, and this back section is dry. So it's really wet where it was underneath the intake, and then wet all the way down the back, which is what I saw because it was all leaking. So I still don't know where it was pushing out, but it was leaking really fast whenever I got into boost. So if you guys aren't familiar with the story, I noticed it when I was pumping gas one day. Like I was on my way to the track and stopped to get gas, and I noticed a drop underneath the truck when I was getting gas. It was like I could watch it drip, but the truck was running really good. Everything seemed like it was fine, so it was really strange. And then I went home and I started checking the PCV system. I unhooked the PCV, and then that's when I saw all the smoke coming out. So if I went to unhook the PCV, I probably never would have really thought anything of it if I didn't see the oil. So you guys are gonna slaughter me in the comments for not using a power tool right now, I bet. Oh man. Going back to my old ways here. Oh man. What's going on here? All right, now let's try it again. I don't really see much. Number 3 looks kind of spotty. There's 5, that's the one that had low compression, really light color. Doesn't look terrible. Yeah, you can see, I'll grab the camera, I'll bring you guys over. I don't know if that rod is bent or if the ring is just cracked. This whole piston is pushed over. Actually, 3 of them look like that. It's kind of what we saw in the bore scope too. It looks like it's really tight over to the one side, and then there's a big gap. It's hard to see from this angle. See how big that gap is there? And then it's like right against the wall on this side. Same thing here. Yeah, and you can actually see the scoring on the wall. So I wonder if those are bent. So this one looks okay. Nice all the way around. And don't look too bad. But I remember saying that when I was in there with the bore scope, it looked like it was pushed over. So I wonder if these 2 are bent a little bit. I'm going to pull 5 out and we'll see if the rings are cracked. Alright, so I didn't pull it out yet, but I'm pretty sure these 2 are bent. So look at this one. It's flush with the top. Nice and even all the way around. And then I'll bring number 5 up to the top. So you can see that's top dead center. And this side is like pushed really tight against the wall. There's a gap here. And this piston here is actually below the deck surface. And it's above the deck surface here. So I think that rod is bent. It's just tweaked a little bit. Same with number 7. I'll grab the camera and show you guys. 7 is all the way to the top, but it's not centered in the bore. See ring gap there, and then this is tight. And this is also below the deck surface, and then this is above the deck surface. See that? That little guy's, it's tweaked a little bit. There you can see it pretty good. This is above, that's below. All right, moment of truth. Place your bets. What do you think it's going to be? Yep. Cracked second ringland. Oh, and third. Yep. Wow, really fucking broke second. Second is broken in 2 spots. Here, all the way around. And third is broken in 2 spots, 3 spots. So really hammered that one. Probably makes sense why it's a little bent. Maybe a little too much timing, I don't know. The bend in there is so slight you can't even see it. Like the rod Rod looks like it's straight. Everything looks fine. Yeah, that's, you'd never even notice. Now I'm curious, are the other ones broken too? It was just this one that was cracked, or just this one that had low compression. So I'd be curious, see what the other ones look like. I'll look at number 7. I'll leave 5 out. I'll spin number 7 down. So I'm curious when I check the other side if the other side's hurt too, because that would be the second time that I hurt only the driver's side. And I've seen that quite a few other times. I think Matt Apple did it a couple times, just the driver's side. And then I had a guy emailing me the other day, had a LS1, and same thing, just the driver's side. So I'm curious what the phenomenon is there that's causing just the driver's side to go. I wonder if it's like the log manifold setup puts more pressure on the driver's side. I'm just grasping at straws here, but I know the driver's side runs hotter, so I would think if you were like borderline on the edge that the driver's side would be the first one to get damaged if you were on the edge and that side was hotter. So maybe it's just a heat thing, but interesting. Get this rod cap off. Oh. Bearing looks fine. So what do you think? Think this one's gonna be broke too? Seven's usually the bad guy. 7's usually the bad guy. Yep, 7 looks fine. 7 is not cracked at all. All the way around. Everything looks good. And guys, I know a lot of you probably going to be saying, bro, you didn't gap your rings, because that's usually all I ever hear, but these were gapped to 30 thousandths. So I think I had plenty enough gap. 30 thousandths is pretty big. And this was on 18 pounds, so I guess we'll look at the other one. You can see, like I said before, I kind of was interested in maybe honing this thing. I don't know if I don't think I want to bore it, but I would maybe like to re-hone it. Like have a machine shop do it and freshen up these cylinders, because this is not very many miles on it. And I did a fresh hone, like a dingle ball hone, and it just glazes them over really quick. So if I do, I'd like to go, I don't know, just a few thousandths over and get a good hone, and maybe do like a 5 thousandths over piston or something and actually build this block. But I might just trash it, because what's the point of sinking all the money into that thing when this is fucking broken anyway? So I don't know, conflicted right now, boys. Not sure what I want to do, but I want to do something. Or maybe I just get a set of Gen 4 rods, because this block is broken. Might not be worth putting a bunch of money into it, but just throw a set of Gen 4 rods in it and see how those do, because I think this went pretty far with 18 pounds and like 17 degrees with Gen 3 rods. It lasted, in my opinion, I don't know, longer than I thought it was going to. I thought it did pretty well, but until this happened, which isn't even really that bad, I don't think. It's not like it's a catastrophic failure. It just tweaked the rods a little bit and cracked one piston, so kind of happy about it, actually. I was a little bit discouraged because of the time that the truck did. You know, it only did an 11.2, and I was shooting for 10s and stuff, and I get discouraged, but I gotta keep reminding myself that the truck didn't pick up anything from 12 to 18 pounds, so it picked up 1/10 in 1 mile an hour. So I think if that converter wasn't holding me back as much, I'd be a lot more satisfied with it, especially for what it was on Gen 3 rods. Granted, there'd be a lot more load on the rods, and probably wouldn't have lasted that long anyways. All right, so this will be number 3. Cap on the floor. This is number 3. 3 looks fine. Rings are good. Things not even dirty. So, yeah, it was just number 5 cracked, and then the rods were bent slightly. So I still ran 11.2 with it like this. PS, by the way, with one cracked piston. Ran 11.2, so maybe it would have went a little faster if that one wasn't broken, because it only had like 50 psi compression. So I don't know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I like talking about what I could have done when it's all just a fantasy. I just have to put it back together and actually do it and stop talking about it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this one. I think I'm going to end the video here. Let's look inside these boards again. Yeah, you can see all the skirt scuffing. It just polished the bores. So, I don't know. Might not be worth it to really do much with this one, besides just throw some stuff back in it and have fun with it, play with it. Maybe get a different block to put in the car. I'd like to, like I said, do a twin turbo setup on this, and maybe actually put like a nice set of pistons in this and get like some Snake Eater 210s and actually kind of push this car and not have to worry about breaking it. That's the goal with this one next year, for next summer, is I want to do whatever I'm going to do to it over the winter and just drive it next year and not have to worry about breaking it, because that's the mama daddy car. So we're going to have some fun with that thing. That's the plan. All right, guys, so I want to show you, this is the rings off the broken piston. So I want to show you the gap, show you the ring gap. So this is the top ring. Thirty thousandths. Oh. So yeah, it's like 30 thousandths. Not even great enough to hold it that tight. So I just wanted to show you, because I know there's going to be people flipped out about the ring gap. So this is not a factory ring gap. It's large. Large and in charge. So this is the second ring. And that one's got a lot of room in it. This one's actually at 35. So 35 thousandths. That's where that one's at. So I can't remember what kind of bearings these are. I think they were like engine tech or something like that. I didn't actually gap them. So I measured them, but I didn't gap them to make them this size. This was the gap that they had when they came out of the box. So I didn't want to make them bigger than that, because I was shooting for like 28 thousandths. So they were already kind of big. So I just left them how they were. And big would be better than too small, but that's where they were. So I'm kind of thinking that these bores are actually just worn and making that gap a little bit bigger. Either that or that's just a ridiculously huge gap from the factory. Could be. I just want to add, I did pick up a dial bore gauge a few weeks ago, so because I was planning on checking this, so I do want to check it. I've never used one before, so I kind of just want to use it and learn how to use it and play with it a little bit, and I'll get to check the round, the taper, and the actual size and see kind of where these things are at, and even if it's even worth it. Maybe they're so hogged out that the stock pistons are too small, and that's why the gap was so big on a new set of rings. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Have a good one.